Hey there, this is Mr. Summer, and I am your National Honor Society advisor here at Franklin High School. I'm here to kind of walk you through with the screencast the application for membership for the 2024-25 school year. Um, Invitations went out not too long ago, and congratulations on being someone who was accepted based on your 3.3 cumulative GPA. So NHS deals with scholarship, service, leadership, and character. Okay. You'll see some of those parts on the application. You've already taken care of the scholarship part. That's why you were accepted, because your GPA. But I want to walk you through the important parts of the application that you're going to need to fill out. First one is part one, service. You'll see that you're going to need to document service for everything you've done so far in high school. Middle school, National Junior Honor Society does not count. It has to be things that you've done in high school. Grade 10 students, you need to earn 3 points from at least two categories, and one must be in the FHS setting. Grade 11, 4 points, and grade 12, 5 points. That's because 10th graders haven't had as many opportunities as, for example, seniors have to amass points in different activities inside and outside of Franklin High School. So, just before we get to the point value system, remember that activities are conducted for self-improvement, monetary payment, or school credit will not be awarded service points. So, for example, if you take music lessons and you pay for them, that's not something that you can list as your service. But if you play in a voluntary, maybe chamber orchestra or a band at your church, for example, that can count. Okay. And then the way that we calculate these points for grades 10, 11, 12, 3, 4, and 5 respectively is that if you do a short-term activity, for example, you volunteer at the Reisterstown Festival on a weekend, a Saturday, and it's at least 5 hours, you get a half of a service point that would factor into your total of 3, 4, or 5, depending on your grade. And you earn 1 service point for long-term activities, 10 hours or more. That's if you're part of a sports team, for example, or you do theater here at Franklin or outside of Franklin, and you have more than 10 hours for that ongoing long-term activity. Some of these activities that you can brainstorm to document on your form: clubs, drama, publications outside of the classroom, not just journalism class here at Franklin, service within the community. That's a very broad and all-encompassing thing. So think about any organization or activity that you do, and then service within the school and sports, whether that's here at Franklin or in the community. These are all things that you should sit down with your families and brainstorm about, so you can kind of get a big list of things to document. Speaking of documenting those service things, later in the packet, you'll see a form, Part 1, service category. This is where you actually describe the activities based on the categorization. You put the hours, the point values that were amassed, the sponsor name. So, for example, it could be your sports coach, it could be somebody at your church, your religious organization. And then they would sign it and put their phone number. If you cannot get them to sign it in person, you can have them email me just verifying that you did that service, you were part of that club, organization, activity, whatever it is. And I usually print that out, give it to you, and you can put that as part of your in part of your application. All right, but sometimes you can find these people. For the Part 1 service category, there are many parts to it that you would fill in based on the service category, but you will put the total points required by your grade. So 10th graders 3 points, 11th graders 4 points, 12th graders 5 points, and then the total points for overall service that you've documented. All right, that covers service. Next is leadership. So I will let you read this paragraph on your own, but overall, you just need to go down to Part 2 below the service, which is leadership, and do one of the 3 methods, whether that's leadership in the classroom, find 4 teachers who would consider you a leader in the classroom, whether that's discussion, writing, math, science lab stuff. You do a great job and they think you're a leader, you can get them to sign it. If you have two elected positions, maybe you're part of a club or organization or a sports team and you're a captain, that's something that you could choose. One elected position and two classroom leadership things, you're going to choose one of those three methods to document your leadership in part two. And lastly, part three, character. You are going to need to have two recommendations. One is a simple form completed by a teacher at Franklin, and another one is a full written letter from someone outside of Franklin. I'm going to let you read some of the other details about who qualifies as writing your letter for the outside and what you should do for the form inside of Franklin. Down here, you'll see that there's a teacher recommendation form. Just approach that teacher and say, please, could you fill out this form for me as I'm applying to National Honor Society, and hopefully they can fill this out and give it right back to you not too long from when you ask them, so you can put it in your application. And then this is the cover letter for the recommendation form for your outside person. So someone who does not work at Franklin High School, is not a family member. They are going to fill out their information and then actually write you a letter and seal it to include in your application. I know that there's a lot so far with this application, and I'm doing a screencast kind of scrolling up and down, but I'm hopefully helping you out. You can watch this as many times as you want. This is a checklist on the different things that you'll need. For example, some information about you, your name, grade, date of completion, graduation, your homeroom teacher. You sign it saying that everything is accurate to the best of your ability. Your parent signs it, or a guardian. And then this is a checklist that you can include in your application packet. I believe I've covered everything so far other than the final step. You'll see that there's a deadline here, and all membership packets are to be placed in a large sealed envelope with the student's name, grade, and 1A homeroom teacher printed neatly in the upper right-hand corner. Incomplete packets will not be considered. This is something that students have been disappointed with in the past. If you leave off any of this information, whether it's a letter of recommendation, whether it's the service requirement where you document that, they will not be considered. And you're going to turn the packets into me personally in room 111. Please don't put it in my mailbox, simply because I don't want you to say I turned it in, but somehow, some way it did not get to me, and then we're in some sort of snafu. Come bring it to me and give it to me personally so I can hand it. It can be handed to me, and I can mark off that you did turn it in. I turn in all of these applications to a 5-teacher National Honor Society Faculty Council. I manage these applications, but I do not review them. I run the meeting that talks about who got in and who didn't, but I don't make judgments because I am the advisor, and it would be a conflict of interest. I help walk you through the application process. I do not review them. And all packets must be handed in by Friday, January 24th, 2025 at 2:30 p.m. There are no time extensions for any reason. This is another thing that disappoints students and families in the past. Oh, I thought that I could turn it in the following Monday. I'm sorry, but you have until you get this application in your hands until January 24th to do this. Okay? Please reach out if you have any questions, comments, concerns to me right away as you go through the procedures for membership. I hope that this screencast was helpful. You can watch it as many times as you want, but please feel free to come and see me in person with any questions. I may say, please watch the video again. I know it's covered in there, but it will start us off on the right foot. Thank you so much, and congratulations again on qualifying for application status for the National Honor Society.